Join us for episode 233 of the Campus Comics Cast as we ask not what your podcast can do for you, ask what you can do for your podcast. This is Scott Reed, and I'm joined on this episode by
Mike Atchison.
All right, and in this episode, we are going to be discussing the first 5 appearances of DC's youthful president, none other than Prez Rickards himself, along with the first issue of one Dorc. That's D''orc. For those of you who are grammar and spelling inclined. I don't have any news notes, Mike. Do you? I probably should.
No. I mean, I haven't really researched any, perused the typical outlets. So, no, I don't have anything. I do want to say that your intro, I never know what it's going to be.
Well, I never know sometimes until a few minutes before, but this one I actually wrote a couple of days ago.
I have to say that 99.9% of the time I'm quite impressed.
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember the point. Maybe it's 100%. I don't know, but it's always I just want the listeners to know that I don't know what Scott's going to say for the intro. I get just as much of a chuckle as they do.
So both people who are listening get
potentially,
a chuckle. Yeah, right.
Both.
Hey, there was one news item that we probably should at least mention. If you caught it on Facebook, Adam Hughes, the prolific artist, especially known for his covers, announced that he had stage 3 cancer. So it's not it's serious. So just someone to keep in your thoughts and prayers moving forward. So I probably should have... like I said, that just was a kind of like a little thing that popped into my brain as I asked, were there any news things that you could think of? And, and that was the one that I remembered. So.
Oh my gosh! Wow. God, that makes me old. I mean, I remember when he broke in the late '80s, probably late '80s, and criminy.
Yeah, it was colon cancer. So.
Okay.
As if the quick search that I'm looking for is correct. So,
well, it's early enough. Maybe some treatments will give him a good longevity.
Hope so.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get to Prez. I think would be the best thing to do at this point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now I have this my notes, and I'm sure you can elaborate on this one. Is like we're going to be talking about Prez issues 1 to 4. And then Supergirl, and that'd be the 1970, what year would that
3,
have been?
I believe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Supergirl issue number 10, created by Joe Simon and Jerry Grandinetti. Mike, you said you had some additional notes on old Prez Rickards, so what you got?
Well, and first of all, I mean, I don't know how we came up with Prez. I think it's because you came across.
All right, so
a run of them, right?
Okay, so let's go ahead and get the apology out of the way. Why are we talking about Prez? So I bought a collection of comics, and in that collection, we were trying to decide what we are going to do for our next first 5. Well, I had in the collection that I bought the first 4 appearances of Prez, minus, Supergirl, so I didn't have the 5th appearance, and the first 5 appearances of Lobo, since Lobo is going to be featured in the Supergirl movie. So we went back and forth on Prez and Lobo, and lo and behold, we chose Prez, so it's my fault.
Well,
stupid collection.
No one's forced to read it. I don't want to give away too much, I guess, in our apology, but the apology might say all you need to know. But no, I mean, okay. So just about the creators, Joe Simon is probably most known as being with, the partner of artist Jack Kirby in creating Captain America, one of the most, enduring superheroes. And they also worked extensively on other features. Mostly the ones at DC Comics were like Sandman and Sandy the Golden Boy, the Newsboy Legion, Boy Commandos, Manhunter, and then Jerry Grandinetti he's got a long career as well, or had one. He was mostly into war comics, from what I could tell. I knew the name, but I do remember him being Simon's partner in some other 1970s works like the Green Team in the first issue special, and the really really weird Outsiders issue and first issue special. Um, so yeah, that's the creators, and it just seems I just to me it seems like it's such a stretch from where Simon was with Kirby creating Captain America to some of these 70s characters.
Yes. Because wasn't Simon also Brother Power the Geek?
Probably,
Okay,
probably.
I
It
guess I should have looked
sounds.
that up before, but
Yeah,
so yeah, right in that vein. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'll just go ahead and get my initial review out of the way and say I'm not a big fan of Lobo. Don't really care much for the character, and I wish we'd done Lobo instead of Prez. So
It's yeah. I mean, it's a character in a story of its time, but my notes I have written down. I feel like Simon was sort of just building the plane as he was flying it. It was like whatever came into his mind, he put on his notes, and then Grandinetti, dutifully put it into art. It's yeah, and just to give the quick background of the character, the main characters at least. You got Prez Rickard. We don't know of any other first name other than Prez. He's a teenager from a small town called Steadfast, and he becomes a local celebrity after he single-handedly fixes all the town's clocks. As it happens, you fix clocks, you become an automatic celebrity. Um, so he caught the attention, his notoriety caught the attention of a kind of a villainish person named Boss Smiley. He's like a corrupt, like a mob boss or political boss with literally a smiley face for a head, like have a nice day smiley face button. Um,
just not yellow. It's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
normal Caucasian skin color.
Yes, it's a knockoff of that, but he recruits Prez because he thinks Prez will be he's a young he's a youngster, and that was the fad at the time, was giving power to youth and all that, and wanted to just use Prez as a puppet and get himself into office and kind of control things. But what's interesting, one of the few really interesting points about it is there's a real world connection to the story in that this story came out not long after the Constitution was amended. I don't remember which one. Oh, here it is. I got my notes. 26th Amendment allowed 18-year-olds to vote, or 18-year-olds to run for the highest office in the land, to vote, all kinds of things. Because if you remember, this is a tail end of the Vietnam War, and they were old enough to be drafted, but at the time not old enough to vote or
Right.
run for office. So Simon, I guess, was taking this information and turning it into the Prez story. So yeah, that's the background.
That's the background. All right. So, do you remember, Mike, what your first introduction to the Prez was?
I mean, it had to be one of those house ads in a DC book. It couldn't have been real time. I wasn't buying. I might have gotten some free ones from my uncle that early, but in 1971, 72, I was only 5, 6 years old. Um, so I'm thinking later on, looking at some back issues, I see these. You remember those half page or third page ads? I can
Hmm.
just almost imagine that I seen this Prez character there, and it just imprinted on me. It wasn't until way later that I ever got the issues out of curiosity more than anything. But yeah, I can't pinpoint it, but I'm sure it was through an ad somehow.
Yeah. Well, now I was doing a little bit of research, and I made a mistake of trying to do this on comics.org, which is very, very difficult to search for like character appearances on
Oh
that
yeah.
site. So I was going through, and the issues that I found that Prez was involved in were Prez 1 to 4, Supergirl 10, then the canceled comics Cavalcade 2, which printed what was supposed to be Prez number 5. All right. And then you have like Sandman 54, Dark Knight Strikes Again, issue 1, the Multiversity Guidebook. And those were like the earliest, and the Multiversity Guidebook book is what? That's New 52, right?
Yes, around
Okay.
then,
All right.
yeah.
Now, we were talking the other day, and you mentioned another series that the Prez was in that was actually decent. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember who you said the writer was.
Well, the other versions that I'm aware of are the in 1993 Neil Gaiman. I'm sorry. Yeah. Prez appeared
Sandman.
in
Yeah.
Sandman. Yes,
Yeah,
issue
Sandman 54.
54. Yeah,
Hmm.
but then in 1995, Ed Brubaker of all
That's
people,
that's the one you were
yeah,
talking about. That yeah.
yeah, and Eric Shanower, and I mean, Brubaker, I think crime noir
Hmm.
stories. Shanower, I think ElfQuest or something
Right.
like that. It just seemed two great tastes that maybe taste together. I don't know, but they wrote something called Prez. It was a prestige one shot. Prez smells like Teen President, which I mean, right off the bat, it's a knockoff of Nirvana's "Smells Like
Hmm.
Teen Spirit." And let me tell you, that story was the characters, including Prez Jr., which this kid is believed to be the son of the original Prez. He's the main protagonist, and his buddies. They could have been Kurt Cobain and the other band members. Walked into a comic. Yeah. So it was darkish. That grungy feel of the time. What I read, or at least started to read but didn't finish, was the newer version, which came out of Prez, which came out in 2015, written by Mark Russell and drawn by Ben Caldwell. Um, and it's a young girl, teenage girl named Beth Ross, a la Betsy Ross.
Hmm.
She's elected president via Twitter, of course, and it's in the near future, the year 2036. Um, her vice president on the ticket is the original Prez. And in this book, he's identified his first name is Preston. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I've only gotten through the first maybe 4 issues of that, so I don't know exactly how it ended. But, yeah, I think there's even a special more recently that I have on my downloads, but I don't know what that character's like.
Well, I'm almost certain that the first time that I read a story with Prez was actually, and I had to go and look at this because I had no recollection of this. It's like I cannot believe that Prez shows up in Dark Knight Strikes Again. But lo and behold, I go and look at it's actually the very first page. It's just right out of the gate. You have the president at the time because in Dark Knight Returns, it was Reagan and or a caricature of Reagan that was the president, and then Dark Knight Strikes Again, which was I think 2001. All right, but
Hmm.
it was Prez, but it was a much more malicious take on the character than the kind of the naive version that we get in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't, however, think that I would have recognized that whenever I read it the first time as Prez, because, like I said, I had to go back and look at it again because it just didn't line up. It's like there's no way. So I'm going to assume that the first time I ever actually read a Prez comic was Sandman 54 several years ago when I was just going through and reading all the Sandman.
Yeah.
But at that point, I had heard of the character at some point in the past, so unless I just happened to pick up a random issue, like in a bag of comics or a box of comics, maybe I read Sandman, Supergirl 10, or maybe I read one of the Prez issues, but I sure don't remember it.
I don't think I read them. I mean, I've had the comics
Hmm.
for a while, but I don't think I ever read them. I just bought them as a collector's novelty. And I didn't even read the Supergirl number 10, which was that final issue of that run.
Hmm.
I've had it for a while, but I've never read it. So, yeah, I guess the first time reading was literally for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, did you read Sandman 54?
I don't think I did. I've
Ah,
started to
okay.
read Sandman. I've gotten through maybe 5 of the volumes. I don't think I've gotten that far into it. Maybe not even 5 volumes, maybe just 3. And then
Okay.
something distracts me and I love it. I mean, I think it's
Hmm.
great, but I just always, something shiny diverts my attention.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, it. I didn't care much for the ending of Sandman, not to get too terribly sidetracked, but it was still good at this point.
Yeah.
In the 50s, it was still good. It's kind of the very end where to me it falls apart a little bit. But that's not what we're
Yeah.
talking about. We're talking about Prez, right? So,
Yeah.
what are your initial thoughts on the original version of the Prez?
Well, it's of like I said earlier, it's of its time, but it's just also silly. Um, I I think I'm not a fan of Grandin Eddie. I just maybe it looks better in a war book, but his art looks very thick lined and
Hmm.
rough, and it just doesn't. It's not appealing at all. I don't want to call it muddy, but the some of the it almost looks like some of the comic panels look like characters like Boss Smiley's crew. They
Hmm.
look like characters in a Mad magazine or a crazy or cracked skit.
Skit. Uh huh. I can see
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Just yeah, just not impressive. I mean, I have to give him a little bit of credit for the smiley face thing. That's kind of creepy and innovative, but that's my original thoughts. And to be honest, even saying that, it peaked early. There was only 4 issues. I think it peaked with issue 1.
Yeah. Well, my initial thoughts are is the character is quite absurd. Now,
Yeah,
if I had been reading this and you had told me, you redacted the writer and said that this was Kirby, I might have believed it,
yeah,
because it's kind of that, over the top, kind of writing style. So I guess Simon and Kirby kind of, rubbed off on each other a little bit since they spent so much time together. Yeah, I definitely could have seen that, but of course it was Simon, not Kirby. But what we have is this incredibly I don't know naive individual that walks backwards into the becoming the president of the United States. And it's just like some of the things that they do in the book. The books continually. It's like at some point he like gives away $1 billion, and that's 1973 billion dollars. Can you
yeah,
imagine?
yeah.
What the response would be now to just president gives away $1 billion and
I mean, you talk about absurd. I
hmm.
mean, he picks his mother or appoints her vice president, which is that's not the way it works, of course. You would think that they were if they were trying to go for some level of historical relevance or connection that they wouldn't make it like this because that's just not how it works. He's got his sister as a secretary and then he's got one of the most bizarre things. Eagle Free is an indigenous American
Hmm.
who has not just deer and raccoons and typical American fauna that follow him around.
Hmm.
He's got things like elephants and zebras. I'm like, all right, really? You guys can't do a little bit of research to know what animals are going to be in North America?
Gorillas, zebras.
Yeah, gorillas and yeah. I'm like, I just like I said, you said the word bizarre, or you said absurd. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's all that. Yeah,
It definitely is. It definitely is. All right, now you already have clarified something that I had a note on later on. We were going to talk about, obviously one of our questions is we talk about moments in the story, and like at the end of issue 1, they have this little cliffhanger thing. Just call me Prez, by the way. I'll bet the reader can't guess who my vice president is. Because he's
yeah,
standing there, sitting there in the Oval Office with Eagle Free right beside him, right? It's like you can't guess who my vice president is, and you're right, I couldn't guess because I did not realize that they ever identified his mother in the story.
In the second issue, they
in
do.
the well, no, but that's it. I mean, like, but they don't in the first issue. So it's
Yeah.
like, how are you supposed to know? Okay, well, here it is. Actually, it's on page 4 in issue 1. At home, his mother and sister. At home with his mother and sister, young Prez Rickards ponders the problems of Steadfast. The clocks are ruining this town. The trains are late. The factories close early. The kids are never on time for school. So his mother is there, and I guess his sister, but neither are named. So unless I've just completely missed it, we see him with one panel, and the appearance is completely different from what her appearance is in the second issue. But I never even saw where they called her his mother in the second issue.
Yeah. Now you got me wondering. But my memory says that she was. But
Well, she keeps calling him son, but
yeah.
I was taking that to because he was so young, not because of a literal son. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but also the appearance is quite different. But that could just be an inconsistency in the artwork that's causing that to actually be the problem. So
Yeah, I don't know where I get this information. I want to say it's in here somewhere, but
okay,
here it is. Yeah. Oh, here it is. It's on page 5 in the middle row of panels. The weird king-looking character that's playing chess.
Chess, yeah.
He's playing against. He calls her Martha, and Prez does, and the king guy calls her the vice president, and then later she says maybe I should stick to vice presidenting. So that's when you finally figure out that that's who. But I don't know that you're right though. Other than the literal her calling him son.
Yeah,
so which is how I took it. That's how I took it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I guess I could look it up, but it's kind of more fun to try to find it, story wise.
No, there was no hint. There was no. That was like I mean, of course we're not going to guess that. It's like it's like saying, oh, it was Captain Crunch. Just oh yeah, didn't guess it. Darn it, you got me.
Yep. So all right, next, how much do we get? I want to know about the character's origin from these first 5 issues. So this is pretty straightforward one, right? It's not like it's a superhero origin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all right there. This is sort of his origin story, right? I mean, it's not like you're going back in time. I mean, it was. Yeah, he was the kid from a small town, fixed clocks. I mean, it was all part of the main story, so there really was no, had to go back in time to learn more about his origins. I don't know. Now, I don't know who his father is or was, but that's left blank.
Yeah, I guess he did enough to get noticed by Boss Smiley, and it's kind of funny to me. He goes from senator. I like how it's like, oh, Boss Smiley's like, I'm gonna get a new candidate, but it goes midnight, so it becomes election day. So now it's too late to get a new candidate. It's like,
yeah.
Again, that's not how that works.
No. I forgot he had to get him in the Senate first.
Yeah, and then it only takes 1 page for him to then become president.
Yeah, they did not spend any time at all with him as senator.
Nope. This goes well. It's not to be too political, but it sounds a lot like Barack Obama. I think he was a one-term.
He was a freshman senator,
junior senator, in Illinois, and then became president.
I guess it can happen. Yeah,
it can happen. So, all right. So here's a silly question to ask about a non-powered character.
Oh,
but So what powers does this character display in these issues?
Well, it's one of them deals where I'm like, well, I got to come up with something to say. I mean, so I just looked up on a fandom page, which of course. Every character under the sun has a fandom page these days. So, team affiliations, none. Powers, none. Skills and abilities, however,
good with
it's
clocks.
Listed. Yeah. Can fix clocks, superior, unarmed, hand-to-hand combatant, leadership skills.
Okay.
Tools and weapons, none. That's it.
I would add to that set naive, and
Yeah.
super nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Naive and nice. Those are
Yeah.
characteristics. Yes.
Yes, definitely characteristics of him. So, now, how closely does this version of the character match what we see in comics today?
I I mean, from the one we see today, the most recent is the Beth Ross, and it's very
Hmm.
different. I mean,
Right.
at least in gender
Hmm.
and a lot of the style. I mean, the aesthetic is not early '70s peace and love. It's more, it's the near future of 2036, so it's all hypothetical,
Hmm.
but it's still in a way counterculture.
Yeah.
Um, from what I can remember of what I've read so far, the difference with the 1995 Prez, which was his son or supposed to be, it was really just the vision quest of this son, supposed son, trying to find Prez, the original Prez, because he had supposedly died, and he was trying to find out what happened, how he died, where he died, all that. As it was just it was like this younger version of Prez that sort of trying to find a reason for everything. And like I said, it was very grungy, dark, and that kind of thing, kind of gloomy. Um, I didn't really enjoy it that much for being a Brubaker book. I've always
Okay.
liked his stuff, but I didn't enjoy it. Um, so yeah, there is. It's mostly what's different is not. It's mostly like the era for each of these versions. It's just the generation that they live in.
Well, if you exclude the Miller take in Dark Knight Strikes Again,
Yeah.
where it's a very different, like I said, borderline malicious version of the character. Yeah, it kind of keeps. I haven't read the granddaughter Prez version. I'd forgotten about that because that was New 52, right? I think did I already ask that once, or was that post New 52?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that one. You mentioned what you looked up, but
Hmm.
I didn't actually find that.
Okay. Well, I've had that series show up in collections before, so
Okay.
that I've bought, but again, not read it. So, but yeah, for the most part, I would expect, like, if you came across a Prez Rickards story, that it would be that wholesome, naive character again, other than Miller. It
Sure.
would be
Yeah.
pretty comparable. So, all right, so let's talk about some of the moments that you might want to call attention to. So, what do you have as something, Mike?
Issue one, they they have a sign talking about Central City. You see, and then I got to thinking, I wonder if it's the same Central City as the Flash. Is it, is this in regular DC continuity or not? But um, again, I think I mentioned already. I have a note here about that American Indian or the indigenous American with the animals that many are not even native to America. Um, we already talked about him going from senator to president quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There was sort of a fourth wall breaking moment at the end of that first issue where he asks, he goes, "You'll never guess, readers, who's the vice president."
Right.
Yeah. Um, oh, I have a note here, not to get political, but Prez beat our current president in to the punch on wanting to put his face on U.S. money.
Oh.
Um,
So you're saying that Prez predicted the future is what you are saying?
maybe, yeah,
Maybe. Okay. All right. It's kind of hard not to talk about a character named Prez and not at least at least as an aside on some
sure,
political
yeah,
similarities.
yeah. Issue three was pretty wonky too. You had the great 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 grandnephew, or great 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 nephew of George Washington, named Gregor Washington, and it's like a whole new adventure. He's basically trying to take over the U.S. government to prevent a bill that outlaws firearms, which again, that's a constitutional
Hmm.
right, not a bill. Um, it was very not adhering to reality in these kinds of things. I mean, the setting was all this. Gregor Washington and his troops are literally dressed like George Washington's troops at Valley Forge. I mean, just scratch my head, stupid. Yeah, and it's not really. This is current times. And even the
times
great
as in the 70s, yeah.
yeah, right. And this Gregor has wooden teeth, but don't worry, his dentist is Dr. Pullman. I did get a kick out of that, yeah. And then because he was, I guess, didn't do a good job on the teeth, Gregor ordered the dentist shot by firing squad. But one of Washington's cohorts saved him from it. Said they've been out of ammunition for months. Just silly, crazy stuff. Had a really good pun, not really good, but it was a pun. They were talking about General Patton, because General Patton was I don't know when that movie Patton came out. I think it might have been the early 70s with George C. Scott, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. And then the only thing I have about issue 4 was that only 4 issues in, and it's like Jump the Shark. Because you got a legless Dracula.
Patton was 1970.
Okay, there you go.
So, yeah, so it's just after that. So, yep. Now, I think my big surprise, going through these is we have the big boss of issue 1, which is Boss Smiley.
Mm-hmm.
And how much does he appear in issues 2, 3, 4, or Supergirl 10? None. Yeah, he's gone. Yeah. So it's like,
and he was the only the only somewhat interesting character in the whole book.
So that was like kind of a big surprise because, especially since my most recent reading had been that Sandman 54. Well, he plays a big part in that story in Sandman 54. So much larger even than what he plays in issue number 1, of Prez. So I was expecting at least, Boss Smiley to be a recurring character as we were going through each of these issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Again, I think they were building this whole thing as it flew.
Yeah, it's like, are we going to get a second issue? Hey, we do. Okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to get a third issue? Hey, we did. Let's keep going.
I didn't even mention Supergirl 10, Scott. No, that was only like an 8-page story, but it was the worst of all. I mean, it was just absolutely awful. It was like, I don't know, a 6-year-old could see through certain plot holes or see the contrivances of it. But yeah, I mean, we normally don't have such a bad experience reading the first 5 as we did with this one.
Now, I've got to throw this out because I put it in my notes. All right, so we talked about the whole, bet you can't guess who my vice president is in issue 1. Everyone, I assumed it was going to be Eagle Free. I don't know what you assumed who it was going to be.
Yeah, I would have guessed. Yeah, almost like he was like, ironically saying, "You'll never guess," because we would guess,
So my note is, okay, it's Martha. Is it Kent or Wayne?
Oh, Martha!
Yeah, can you imagine Martha, whoever shows up in the Batman v Superman fight scene?
Oh, that's too great! I love it.
But yeah, because I'm still not convinced that that's his mother. So I don't know.
Not, yeah.
Again, if it was, if the art was consistent, because the character does not look anything. We see the mother on page 4 in issue 1, but that looks nothing like the mother or Martha, as we go through the story. Because I would kind of describe Martha as this, as a stereotypical like German woman. Is how
kind of stocky and stout and
Or maybe Eastern Bloc might be a better way.
Eastern Bloc, yeah, that's a good way to say it, yeah.
Because now she's got a similar hair color, but beyond that, I mean, she's not wearing, she's wearing an apron in the one panel that we have her in issue 1, and we don't have the apron. She's wearing a short skirt in, in the Prez issue number 2. So, you know what? I could read it again to try to verify, but I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that.
Too much life. Too much life to live.
That's right. I definitely have better things to read. So, All right, so you got a favorite of the first 5?
It would have to be issue 1. I mean, by default. I mean, it was the only one that was somewhat tolerable. It was being the first issue. I was like, huh. You wonder where this is going to go. You know, you had like, it was intriguing enough to think, okay, what's going to happen next? But man, nothing got any better. It just kept getting worse.
Yeah.
And I really have to think, is just a really poor attempt by such an iconic creator like Joe Simon. Man.
Yeah. My favorite issue was none of them. But if you're just dying to read a Prez story, go read Sandman 54.
Sure.
It's self-contained. It's on the app, right? I know Neil Gaiman's a little bit out of favor at the moment, but the writing quality is still there, and you get a feel for the character reading that issue.
Yeah.
So
That's
if you're like, man, I just want to read a Prez story, just read that one. It's probably the best one that's available to you. Having not read the Mark Russell story or the Brubaker story, that's the one that I would suggest.
Yeah.
And I think we've answered this question already, Mike. Do you plan to seek out more stories with this character?
Knowing the answer, I didn't even write down the question. I usually write down all of the questions again for my new notes, and I thought I'm not even going to bother because I don't. It's such a resounding no.
Yeah, no, nothing more.
I mean, I'm not going to seek it out now. If there's somebody, I mean, I actually kind of want to maybe read that rest of that Mark Russell one. Yeah, maybe.
I guess the one thing you could say about any future Prez stories that you read after these, they can't be any worse.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe with the exception of the comic Cavalcade number 5, that maybe could be worse. But,
yeah, I wondered. I mean, I don't know if you can find that online in the deep recesses of the internet, or
who knows? I have no idea. So yeah, but no, I'm not going out of my way to. I've got a lot of other stuff I would need to and rather read than picking up more Prez. So he can stay a background character as far as I'm concerned. But even then, I hope he doesn't show up frequently.
I just feel kind of cheated in a way. I mean, usually when we do these first 5, there's a nice historical background. You can see the evolution of a character. Even like that last one we did was Grendel. You know, there were some years between appearances, so you kind of seen Matt Wagner evolve as an artist and a writer. And this was just, it just stayed bad it was only, these first 5 appearances were all within a, maybe a 10-month period, year and a half period. I don't know. So, felt cheated.
Okay. Well, you want to move on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're going to not wrap up the episode if we got time. We'll do a CLZ Shake, but we're going to talk about Dorc, created by Brett Bean. We're going to try to make the determination, is Dorc worth the hype? Is it worth the $80 to pick up that first issue on eBay if you are the first print person? So Dorc, D''ORC, is a dark half-orc and a dark half-orc and a light half-dwarf living in the Scar in the lands of Sunderain. He is accompanied by a sentient and rather bloodthirsty shield, and after hiding away for many years, he has decided to step out into the world despite the existence of a prophecy stating that a creature born in the living and in the light and living in the dark will bring about the end of the world. After revealing himself to 2 groups of other creatures, one group of the light and one group of the dark, he is attacked by both for fear of the prophecy. His shield shows its violent self and dispatches both groups. Hoping to hide away for a bit, Dorc arrives at a tavern with a chicken as a proprietor. When the chicken is attacked, Dorc attempts to defend him, but when he does, he also beheads the chicken in the process, who becomes a disembodied spirit that then begins to accompany Dorc on his adventure. As word of these deeds spread through the land, both light and dark dispatch heroes to kill the Dorc. I don't know. Do you think I missed anything there in our
No, that
our
was
brief
very good.
synopsis?
No, that was very good. That really covers it. Yeah.
All right. Well, give me a first thought on this story.
It's I've read a couple of comics in the past 10 years that were sort of like light. I won't say lighthearted, but lighter fare when it comes to fantasy and sword and sorcery. This falls into that realm or that category, but I like this. I mean, I liked it. I like the interactions between this. I mean, even the premise is kind of cute. I mean, I guess I don't spend a lot of my time thinking about what words I can combine to see what they, turn into. But dwarf and orc combined is kind of funny, yeah, especially because the pun of being dork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the interaction between him and his shield, which is like you said, that sentient protection shield that is like an eyeball stuck to it. I like that. Yeah, but my first thoughts were I thought it was amusing and worth the read. Now, if I reduced my 9.8 copy down to a 9.2 because I had to read it for this episode, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's only worth $50, I'm devastated.
You're devastated. That's right. So I was going to jump on eBay and see what they're currently selling for because I haven't checked the current selling price. So I'm going to do that real quick. So here we
Yeah.
go. We'll hit the old eBay search. We'll put in D''ORC 1. I'll be sure and put in first so that we get only a first print whenever we do our search here. And lo and behold, let's see. Let's go buy it now. Price, shipping plus lowest first. Oh, that's okay. So now I got to do minus third, minus second, minus the word third, minus the word second to get rid of all the second, third. I bet there's fourth prints now. Of course, there's fourth prints. So let's go minus fourth. You see, the book's already had it 4 prints. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah, there's
I
already
mean,
been
yeah.
at least 4 printings of this book. Oh, and I
My
forgot to put
lord.
the minus. So it's obviously been very, very popular. All right, so scrolling. Holy smoke. So the A cover by Brett Bean, the cheapest price, buy it now, is $89.99 on eBay.
And that's what you and I have, right? Because
And
we bought
that's
this.
when it
We
came
didn't even
out.
know. We had no. This wasn't some speculation purchase. We
Oh,
just
yes, it
got it.
was.
Oh, yours was.
Because
Mine wasn't.
we named this. I named this as a potential spec pick in one of our
You
pre-orders
did?
episodes.
Why?
Yeah,
What
because it's
tipped you?
absurd.
But I think I just got it because I remember saying this. It reminds me of the Green Lantern Gnort.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's why. But this, I ordered 4 copies of this book just in case.
Oh, you stud, you. Money. That's cool. I would have. I mean, I definitely didn't buy it because of your recommendation, although
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should have.
Yeah.
But I bought it because I thought this might be an amusing little thing, and by the time I figure out I want to get rid of it, it'll be worth $2
Oh
again.
yeah. Now it's kind of it went to 60 pretty fast, and then it went to 80, and now it's gone up to 90 almost. I wonder
When will the
how much legs it's got left.
Yeah, when will
So
the bubble burst? You
yeah.
gonna try to get rid of your stuff quick?
I
Your
probably
copies?
I probably should. I mean, there was actually a copy at $90 with $7.50 shipping that sold today. So
Graded?
raw. No, it's raw.
Wow. You
Yeah.
gonna get
So
yours graded?
I don't think so. I think they'll sell faster.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to wait a couple of months, and then like you said, I've read this one now, so
Well,
it
sell
might
mine
not.
while you're at it, and I'll just
Now, I thought the artwork was a little bit cartoony, but again, this is
yeah.
Brett Bean, and this is his creation, so he can do whatever he wants with the artwork. I inside of the game I play, Marvel Snap, Brett Bean has a series of variant cards for lots of the characters, and it's of a similar style. So I wasn't
Yeah.
too terribly thrown off by that. But like you mentioned, that it's kind of it's adventure. fantasy adventure, straightforward fantasy adventure fare, but it's got that little craziness, silliness associated with it. So if somebody is in like a Dungeons and Dragons playing group, and
Mm-hmm.
they kind of lean a little bit into the less serious side, they
Mm-hmm.
would probably love this story.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, I just not thought of this, but Gru the Wanderer probably falls into the same
Hmm.
category. And that's classic there,
Yeah.
and they had decades worth of legs. Um, but yeah, I enjoy because of this is the genre, this is the type of comic where I enjoy the exaggerated
Hmm.
art, the figures, the faces, I mean, it's very slapsticky, where
Hmm.
you just see some panels where that shield is bouncing around and knocking his opponents around, and their faces are all, smashed, and yet it's also kind of violent. I
Yep.
mean, you see like the chicken's head, you
Hmm.
see blood, and yeah, and then the chicken pulled the old haunted tank deal where he's like the ghost that's going to be their, I don't
Hmm.
know, protector or something, advisor.
Advisor, who
Yeah,
knows? A
yeah.
companion, traveling companion, I don't know. So,
It's just yeah,
have
yeah.
have you ever read any Elric of Melniboné stories?
No, I know of it, but I've never read any.
Okay, so one of the tropes in that is he has a sword, right? That it's a soul stealer,
Mm.
and it takes it like whenever he kills something with the sword, he absorbs their spirit, and it strengthens him because he's like this. He's an albino, and it's got all these things, and he
Mm.
gets weak, and et cetera, et cetera. He takes potions to get over his weakness, but he uses the sword to strengthen himself. But in pretty much every single story arc, he goes to this thing where he ends up killing somebody that he's close to,
Oh,
and that's kind of what happens here in Dork. It's not necessarily that he's close to the chicken, but the
but it was
one that he
unintended.
was
Yeah,
trying to protect is the one he
yeah,
ends up killing.
yeah,
And the shield is like, you're the one that killed the chicken, not me. The shield will take credit for everything else,
yeah,
but the shield doesn't take credit for killing the chicken.
yeah, yeah. I
Now,
mean, I've got. Didn't you sell me an entire ElfQuest run, the magazines, or did I buy that somewhere else?
I don't know.
I thought I did.
Maybe I don't remember if I've
Yeah,
sold that to you or not. I don't remember.
yeah. I mean, I like this. I like. I mean, I typically like sword, sorcery, fantasy
Hmm.
novels. Before I was really reading a whole bunch of comics, I was reading a lot of those Stephen Lawhead or Terry Goodkind and
Hmm.
those kinds of authors, but I haven't in a while. But I love this genre.
Now, one thing that I was kind of surprised about whenever I was reading this is that, okay, at the end, the light and the dark, they both have their, I guess, champion that they're sending out to kill the dork,
Hmm.
and the dark sends a golem, and the light sends a dwarf. Now, I was expecting that whenever I saw this happening, they sent the dwarf. I think actually the dwarf was mentioned first. I was expecting when I read it that they had sent an orc after from the dark, and
Yeah.
then X number of issues later, we're going to learn that these two are Dork's parents. But unless it's a
Uh huh.
misdirect, with
Yeah.
him being half dwarf, half orc, then I guess it's possible on the dwarf side that there could be some family relationship, but on the dark side, I guess it's not possible unless again they're a misdirect or the orc died and was resurrected as a golem or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I read
um,
in the solicit it says that the issue establishes the tone as a blend, or where I read it somewhere online here. Establishes the tone as a blend of satirical high fantasy, dark humor, and brutal action, showcasing Dork's attempts to navigate a world where nearly every magical creature, from elves and wizards to trauma llamas, is
I
out to get
just
him.
saw that it's on the inside front cover.
Okay,
They've
that's what I
got
read. Yeah.
yeah. So on the inside front cover, they kind of have a map of the lands of Sunderain, and you can see the scar, which is the region that kind of exists between the two lands, and it's like a young orphan is armed with only with a magic shield and yearning to belong in the lands of Sunderain, a world caught in an endless 1,000-year war between the armies of the light and dark. Today, every human, elf, orc, goblin, wizard, warrior, dwarf, snaggletooth, ice giant, necroid, trauma llama, dragon, and other creature he's never heard of before is about to know his name. Which, by the way, they never mention his actual name in the story.
Oh, no, they don't, do they?
Yeah, because that's like the first encounter where somebody says, Dorc, and he goes, no, my name is, and then everybody yells, Dorc, so we never actually get to hear what his name is.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I wonder, again, what issue it will be before we learn Dorc's real name, and then how much of a letdown that will be.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the baby Yoda letdown from Mandalorian. It's like, Grogu, really? That's the name?
Yeah, it's one of them things where it's just best to leave, unknown or a mystery.
Mm-hmm. Do we really need to know for this story? So
exactly.
I guess the world may never know. So all right, you got any closing thoughts here on Dorc?
Has the second issue came out? Do you know?
Yes.
I guess I didn't order it.
I did not either. This is one that I just ordered for the spec purposes. Mm-hmm. See, Dorc 2 is available. What about 3? 3 might be a pre-order. 3 might be out as well. Dorc number 3 doesn't say. None of them say pre-order. So.
I haven't looked. I don't think I got it as a continuing.
No, I didn't put it on a pull list or anything. So, yeah, 4 is a pre-sale. It's supposed to be out in May. So it looks like 3 maybe just came out.
Okay.
So yeah, there's probably 3 issues on the. Well, you won't get 1 except for as a reprint off the shelf. Okay. But 2 you might be able to pick up.
Well, I probably won't.
No.
But I will sell you my first copy, my first issue.
Okay.
For a low price of $20.
Okay, there you go. So, well, maybe a listener who really wants it will contact you to sell it to them.
There you go. Yeah,
$20.
Listeners.
There you go.
This is a great deal. Mm-hmm. You can flip it for $80, quick. I'll sell it for $20.
It's like USPS Ground Advantage. It cost him about $7-8. So for less than $30, you can get yourself a copy of Dorc from
the investment. We'll see.
Mike Atchison. So yeah. And what email should they email you at?
I'll send you. Well, of course, the Mike at ComicShopRoadshow.com.
There you go.
But I will put in my own handmade certificate of authenticity as coming from the Mike Atchison collection.
There you go. A pedigree, the Mike Atchison pedigree collection. So.
Okay, I'm punchy. It's too late.
All right, so you gonna grade Dorc issue number 1?
Oh gosh, let's see. I only read it once, and I have to give it probably a 6.5. What would that be? I don't have my grading scale.
Let's see. 6 is a fine, so that'd be a fine plus.
Yeah, I'd give it that. It's not something I'm going to continue to read. I might read this issue since I'm on the road for work this week. Read it again and see if anything's changed. But yeah, it's there. It's a little earmark in history, I guess, of the 2025 or 26 speculation bubble of a couple of comics. Yeah.
I have down on my notes. I got a 5, a very good fine, and I'm wondering if I'm maybe being a little hard on it. At a 5, it's probably better than a 5, and maybe I should come up to a 6, a fine. Yeah. And that, I don't know. I think that's maybe where I'll land. I guess it's something I feel like I could recommend to the right person.
Sure.
It's
just not for you and me. I mean,
Well, I'd like, it's like I remember like with New 52 Demon Knights, which was basically a
Oh, but
fantasy,
yeah, sure, yeah.
but it didn't have the silly tone that
No, it
this
was
that
not
this
yeah.
has.
It
Yeah,
was
so it's a little different tone, and I really enjoyed that series.
yeah.
I think I would, if I had to pick between the Demon Knights and Dork, I would definitely pick Demon Knights. But
The,
I also think Demon Knights was a 8.5, 9
yeah.
as opposed to this, which is maybe a 6. So, I don't
Yeah.
think it's worth the $80, but
Oh
it definitely
gosh,
is
no.
worth, $30 to pick that up from my
Well, yeah,
campus and
of course, right
ship.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially if you're going to sell it for 60 or 80.
yeah, exactly. So, or you're thinking about buying it for 80, that's a bargain. So.
Yes, absolutely. So I was thinking. I mean, I think that Brett Bean gets some kudos for the quality of the work that's done. So I remember reading a few years ago. Emma Kubert is she's of the Joe Kubert. She's Joe Kubert's granddaughter. I forget which um, Andy or Adam is she the daughter of, but she did a book called Inkblot, I think. It was
I
about
remember that name. Yeah.
yeah, Inkblot. It was a
Hmm.
sort of a mischievous black cat that had magical properties, and it kind of reminded. It was kind of cutesy like this,
Hmm.
kind of set in a you know high fantasy setting. It was okay too. I mean, she's pretty good in her own right. She does a lot of editing now for companies, I think too. But that's what this reminds me of. And I bought that actually for about 6 issues, I think, before I got rid of it. But
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, you want to switch over to a CLZ Shake?
sure.
Okay. Well,
You want to go first?
I got my phone out here, so I'll shake, and if I get one of my traditional, I did not get one of my traditional, so I actually got something from DC this time. We
Mm-hmm.
have Batman: The Long Halloween, issue number 3. So this was the Christmas issue of that
Yeah,
Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale story, and I think just those two names alone explains why this is in my collection,
well,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, so you've got a Batman story with the holiday theme, and this low sale pairing that did so many great books together. At both Marvel and DC, and then of course we actually reviewed that story on a Campus Comics Cast episode at some point. So I'll
yeah.
have to look that up while
I
you're
remember that.
doing your
Yeah.
CLZ Shake. So
Okay. Well, while you're looking, I will shake away. And oh, okay. This I can't even really remember, but it's Justice League No Justice, number 4 from 2018. It is, I guess, it was a 4-issue miniseries that it says the epic finale that everyone will be talking about, of course. After the unimaginable happens, the DCU must band together to defend Earth from annihilation. Sounds like any number of books they put out. Before the end, new alliances will be forged and some heroes will be lost forever. Don't miss the event that will set the stage for the Justice League in 2018 and beyond. It's got a cover. It's written by Joshua Williamson and art by Francis Manapul. And it's got on the cover Flash, Damian Wayne, Robin, Harley Quinn, and Cyborg. I absolutely don't even remember this one bit. One bit. That's disappointing.
yeah. Well, if you want to hear our Campus Comics podcast about Batman Long Halloween, that was episode 54, which was
Wow.
around October of 2019. In that episode, we also talked about the Bloodshot trailer,
Oh,
which
that's
was
right.
which was a group of us. I don't know if you were in that group or not. We went to the theater the
No.
day before the COVID shutdown
Oh my gosh, no.
and
I
watched
was.
Bloodshot.
I remember you guys talking about that,
Yeah.
but I must not have been on that episode. I think I read it along with you guys because
Okay.
I was out in Utah at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds about right. So,
Wow.
well, Mike, do you know what's coming up on episode? We decided what 234 of the Campus Comics Cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's not hard to predict. It is the next pre-orders, in which we review the next phase and panels catalogs, and we try to do a decently thorough review without it taking 3 hours or whatever.
Yep.
But no slight to those that want to go that long, but we don't like to go that long. We just try to hit the ones that catch our eye,
That's right.
So yeah, so that's coming out next, and I think it does some good. There's been some people tell me that they enjoy, they use it as their guide. So
Right.
I'm kind of happy and proud about that.
All right. If Mike, somebody wanted to reach out to you besides podcasts@birdcomics.com, how might they do that?
I can do it. Email mike@comicshoproadshow.com, or they can go to our Facebook page, the Campus Comics Cast group, and leave a note.
All right. This is Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, burgcomics.com, where there are links to my social media pages and eBay store. And we will be back soon with pre-orders.
Where's my clacker when I need it? I know I can't even hear that clap when you do it. Really? You didn't hear that? Nope. I've seen it. Still not. Your mic must do a good job of keeping that from coming in like it's ambient noise. I'm sitting there watching the spike on my sound recorder every time I do it. But yeah, doesn't come through to me. Okay, well, I guess that's good. Well, that's crazy that it, can keep that out of the discussion. Yeah, exactly. Just pull out the voice and get rid of the background noise. So yeah, but it never got rid of my little clinky metal straw whenever I was hitting the clap. So. Clink, 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 clink. Me and Chad were like, I wonder if he hears that. I heard it. I just thought it wouldn't get through. So I didn't realize it was that bad. So.